He's still one of the most streamed artists in history. Why would UMG do anything to hurt their relationship with Drake?
I don't know. I'm with you, Payne. I feel like the only way that this is valid is if he's trying to get out of his deal.
What's going down, Music Entrepreneur Club community? Appreciate you being here watching this, wherever you're watching from, whatever time. We're back. I know last week Erinn was gone and people were sad, but we appreciate you not harping too much on it being a Damien Payne stream. So thank you for that. And thanks to everybody that supports the podcast by either just simply watching, sharing the videos, liking, commenting, but also to everyone that's signing up for free music distribution. Number one, I think it's something that a lot of people want anyway, because people are afraid to commit to spending money on a distributor, and they've never done it before, or they're afraid to commit to a new distributor. Try it out. TwoLost.com. Use the code MEC when you sign up. Get a bunch of music up because you have 3 free months. Most trials are like a week, and this is 3 friggin' months, so you can get a lot of music up in 3 months. So that'd be my suggestion, especially now during the holidays when there might be some downtime and you can schedule out your winter into spring music rollout. MEC is the code. Just go to TwoLost.com. It's a distributor. Get your music, beats, everything on all streaming platforms. How are you?
One thing I would mention, I mentioned last week about, not slowing down if you are in a space to continue to do what you normally do over the holidays. Yeah. Most distributors, including Two Lost, however, we have less resources because we are, a lot of people are going to be taking time off over the holidays. So make sure if you're gonna release a song, you typically have to get it in the system more sooner than normal. So if you're going to release a song around the holidays, make sure, I would suggest 2-3 weeks. Every distributor has like deadlines for things, and they've been posting them. Two Lost has posted it. I think we posted it on our socials. So just make sure you're aware of that things to make them available on Spotify, it might take a little longer than it normally does on all distributors, Two Lost included. So just make sure you're aware of that. But anyway, Payne, I'm doing good, man. I'm excited about next year. There's so much stuff going on. But I'm excited about 2025. We're currently planning a Game from the Gods in LA. We found a really dope venue to use. So I'm excited to get that going. I'm also about to start planning an event for creators in like the television and film, social media space, stuff that I do a big job. There's a lot of music industry stuff, but there's really not that much stuff for creators, the actors, comedians. There's not that many like panels and opportunities to learn and network in that space. So we're going to launch something of our own here at the Gathering Spot. There'll be details coming soon, but I think that'll be super successful. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Erinn, what's on your plate?
I'm just trying to survive at this point. So I'm here. I'm grateful. It's just been a tough time for me over the last several weeks, but like mentally. But I've had a lot of cool opportunities. I was in LA last week for Jump Global. Last year I was there. Just sad. This year I was there and I was on stage and it was really cool. And I got to throw the first edition of my own experience series that I've just launched. So that was cool. My first rendition was in LA, which is almost ironic because I don't really like LA, but I'm starting to love it because I have people there that I love, and I'm starting to have good experiences there. I'm grateful. Mentally, I'm toughing it out. Financially, I'm just like it sucks right now because it's like it's the end of the year, so no new contracts. Everybody who said yeah is like on hold, so that's unique for me right now. But it's like ebbs and flows, highs and lows. That's how it goes. I'm just trying to remind myself of that right now, because so many people are aware of how much I'm doing and what I'm building, and they're like, "Oh, you're killing it right now," and I'm like, I think about bills every day, and I don't want to be in that position anymore.
For people that watch this podcast or have watched it for some time, like I think Erinn, you wear the highs and lows most visibly out of the three of us. Of course, we all go through highs and lows. Like that's just the nature of life, but definitely this business. But Erinn really wears it visibly. So if you need anything,
you'll always know how I feel. There's nothing to hide on this side.
Payne, what's up with you, man? Everything good?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm in Erinn's spot too. I just don't usually talk about it. I'm trying to be more positive pain rather than painful pain. But around this time of year, things get weird. A lot of people take breaks. The music industry at the top shuts down. I don't know why that necessarily trickles down to those of us not in the major label system, but I think it's because of holiday travel. People are strapped because they're paying for the travel. They're buying a bunch of gifts for their families. They're working extra to cover all the holiday expenses. You know what I mean? So there's just not as much time to record music, to release music, to play shows, because even shows, that's nerve-wracking because people aren't around. So we have an event. I have my residency with my sister Cupcake out here next month, like a couple days after Christmas. I remember last year it was stressful. We pulled it off, but it was stressful. We pulled off an event a couple days ago. It's a little too close to Thanksgiving. So it's just always a touch and go situation. You have to work 5 times as hard to get 75% of the results as normal during this period. And that's why we're emphasizing artists to not simply just drop out entirely of the business right now.
Well, we got to pick the energy up. I mean, I'm excited for 2000. I mean, if I think about all the stuff that's happening next year on my side, like we're currently working on like 4 different web TV series, 1 boxing reality show. We have this podcast, we have the Blackbusters podcast, we have Blackbusters Remix. I'm just trying to organize and figure out like how we're going to get like all this stuff done in addition to all the stuff we're doing here at Two Loss and the in real life experiences. So I have to pick the energy up. Hopefully having a baby next year. I'm expecting 2025 to be a game changing one for me. So I'm excited. So I'm just trying to figure out how to manage it all, and to try to get the right people on the team to support and assist and make sure all these things come to fruition. But anyway, enough about us. I guess we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Everybody's talking about Drake, Kendrick. Kendrick dropped a video to I think was it TV Off. He dropped the album. He dropped it. Kendrick's crushing. He had a hell of a year. People are debating on whether it's the biggest year that a hip hop artist has ever had. Not going to have that discussion right now. But then Drake continues to, in my eyes, just kind of prove what Kendrick said he was. Just kind of an oddball. And he just keeps making odd decisions. The biggest one being not a lawsuit yet. I forget exactly what it was called. It's kind of a legal document of like maybe almost
it's a
like
petition. Yeah.
Almost like an intent to sue so they can get more information to then file the lawsuit. I guess he's been complaining or trying to negotiate with UMG because ultimately he's saying that they were helping Kendrick promote his Not Like Us song in various ways. And we don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't know what the learning is for our audience outside of, just kind of some popcorn drama. Might be interesting to watch for some of you. But Erinn, thoughts on this situation?
Similar to how I didn't really want to comment on the beef, I'm going to reserve any like deep thoughts for group chats and living rooms. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I find it odd whenever anybody like loses and it's an obvious loss. So then the only thing that they can do is come back with like a technicality or a legality or whatever. It feels a lot like how colonizers treat it when they don't get what they want, you know? So it's just like, I feel like he could have just dipped and kept it at that because it's not a money play, right? So, and if it is does your greed extend so far that your entire reputation will be lost? Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, is that money, is that type of excess worth what you're going for right now? Because it's not like you need it or your kids need it or your grandkids need it or your great-grandkids need it.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it, the only way that I could, and there's a lot of information, obviously, that we don't have, but the only way, and I'm not even going to say justify it, but I can kind of see, I mean, if you were on the label with somebody else, you guys started beefing, and you felt like the label kind of took sides, you'd have a problem. Like, you'd feel a type, like, if it really happened, right? If you were both signed to, let's just say, Cash Money or whatever.
I feel like this is not a valid thing for you to ask me because I never try to stand on this podium, but I'm a Black woman in America. Every time I'm in a situation and it's us versus them or whoever versus whoever, almost every time I think that there's an unfair advantage on the other side. Like, so I don't know because I've never been in a situation where it was just fair. It was just a meritocracy. It was just, so I don't know. Like, I don't get the opportunity to like scream every time something is done unjustly or unfairly to me. So I just don't know how to sit in this position.
Well, I think it just, you know, I think if it did happen, if UMG did some things to favor Kendrick's song and kind of promote that, I feel like anybody would feel a certain type of way. I think that Drake, you know, continuously proves that what Kendrick was saying all along, that this guy is not really a part of the culture, doesn't understand it, doesn't get it, and he's just a series of missteps after all of the songs have come out. And Drake has proven that he is kind of this corny outsider that just continues to have missteps. The only thing that I could potentially see is like, okay, Drake is finally seeing the writing on the wall, and like the only thing that he might be able to secure is some money on his way out. Like if he could potentially prove this or get out of his deal or, you know, get some money out of the system. Because obviously he's taken a reputational hit that ultimately will lead to a financial hit. If he can blame UMG and go to court and get something financially out of the situation and then ride off. I mean, I think he'll continue to make music, but like essentially ride off into the sunset. That could be kind of like his only win out of this because it's been a very bad year for him. So I don't know. I mean, I guess more information will continue to come out. One of the things that I think was in the petition or whatever it was I think it was just discovery mode. I think like it just sounded like, because it said that the label took less royalties for more promotion essentially. And that just sounds like discovery mode. So if the song was just in discovery mode, I don't know.
But it also doesn't matter because it's like they're making the same concessions for him. It's like, that's what a marketing budget is. It's like, if you're like, hey, like, you know what I'm saying? That's why I used to back discovery mode. Cause I'm like, it's just like a marketing budget. Instead of me spending the money, I'm taking less money and I'm seeing better results actually. So like you said, it could be discovery mode, but it's like, that's marketing in general. That's the label's job. They're suing the label for what they're supposed to be doing.
But that's just one of the things that he's accusing the label of. I think I also heard that they fired people that were more sympathetic to Drake. When people
saying that when they had mass layoffs is just a shot.
I'm not defending Drake. I'm just telling you what was in the petition.
No, I'm saying Drake saying that. Like the UMG was having mass layoffs across all of their offices. Saying that people got fired who were sympathetic to Drake that's like when your lawyer just throws a whole bunch of bullshit in a lawsuit or in a document so that people have to weed through it, knowing that it has no type of actual validity or merit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, there was a viral video that went around that, the person requested to hear Certified Lover Boy and it started playing Not Like Us instead. So there's a series of things that he's alleging that UMG did to prop up that song. They said to make it more popular than it was. Like that song.
Also, is that illegal?
If you're it's not illegal, but from his standpoint, if you just signed a $400 million deal and the label's actively kind of working against you, I'm sure if this did play out this way, like I'm sure that there is a breach of their duties in this partnership, or you can at least argue that and potentially get some bread. I think that's the last straw that he's grasping at.
If Drake is suing the label, it's proof positive these labels don't give a fuck about y'all or us or anybody. Do you know what I'm saying? Drake is suing the label saying, yo, y'all didn't rock with me. They're like, we're rocking with whoever's hot right now. So it's like, cool, we gave you 400 M's, but Kendrick about to make us 400 M's right now. Do you know what I'm saying? I get it, and I'm not on behalf of the label or behalf of Drake. I get it, but it's like I feel like he's losing more than he stands to gain because now he's keeping his name in the rumor mill and around this song and around this issue where he could have just dipped off and did an MGK or a Miley Cyrus and just changed genres. Like he's already verged on so many other genres. Like just go into pop music or rock music or whatever. Do exactly what most colonizers do once they get tired or get kicked out of hip hop. Do you know what I'm saying? Pull a Post Malone. Like I just don't understand personally what the point of any of this is, except this is my only caveat. I think he may be trying to get out of his deal. And if that's the case, I get it. I'm like, I get it. He's trying to get the quid pro quo. Like, we're good. He wants to keep the bread, keep it moving, release independently. That part I get. As a business play, I get. I feel like personally, it makes no sense how many hits he's taken to his reputation and how many hits. Because outside of the lawsuit, he's being extra corny right now. I don't know. I just think it's weird, but I'm on nobody's side with this. It's like, this is interesting business, and I'm wondering what the trickle-down effect will be.
Payne, any thoughts on Drake?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts. I think it's, on the one hand, less deep than people make it. On the other hand, way deeper than we'll ever know, unfortunately. What I think is kind of weird is that they're framing this as an extension of Drake versus Kendrick when it's Drake versus the label. So now Kendrick has become the label. It's just a weird framing. And to piggyback off of what Erin's saying, it is a risk to sue. I mean, Drake's basically going to HR to tell on the CEO, which, as we know, if you've ever worked a regular job, HR works for the CEO. So this is an incredibly risky move on his part. And I can't imagine someone like Drake, with as much as he has to potentially lose off this move, would just do it without anything there. I think there's got to be something there. And there are a lot of reasons why I think that. And I have my theories, and I have some theories that I will never, ever express publicly. Because there was one thing that Drake did, and then shortly thereafter, everyone jumped on him. But so I just want to, I'm sitting there like, what's really going on? Because I'm looking at it strictly as a UMG thing, music business. I'm not talking about the beef. Is it a conflict of interest, and can you sue? Well, if he can prove it, then absolutely. I guess it just goes to, because my question is, when you sign a deal with a label, there's got to be language in that deal that entails their commitment to exploiting your artistic talents and your music and so forth. And then if they're actually doing the opposite, then that would be a conflict of interest. So maybe that's the foundation for the action that Drake's taken. But it felt like, it seemed to me that the majority of the artists who suddenly started going against Drake, I guess I would have to really, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of them were either under UMG as well or were previously signed to UMG.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like, I'm not in the industry like that, but it seems like from the stories that people tell, it's like he's been doing a lot of corny shit for many years that have really just pissed people off. So I'm assuming, I would have to imagine that it spans much further than just UMG artists. It seemed like everybody was like, all right,
But here's my question, though. I know on the UMG tip, he's mad that they're not pushing him, but he's number 13 in the world on Spotify, most listened, and Kendrick is number 20, right? And again, I'm with you, Payne. It's not Kendrick versus Drake, but I'm like, where do you find, like, you have to make it Drake has to make it Drake versus Kendrick, because now you have to, like, look into their numbers, and I'm confused, like, on what basis do you stand on to say they promoted you more? Because it's like, he dropped a whole album, Drake didn't. Like, well, he dropped a song and then an album's worth of disses, or like a long EP's worth of diss tracks. Half of them weren't even on distributors. And I know Not Like Us, but that's like a real single. It had music video, you know what I'm saying? And it was the culmination of a whole beef. To me, if we were just looking at a rollout strategy, especially like if this is pre-album rollout strategy for what Kendrick just dropped, so that he can be on the Super Bowl, so that he can have a crazy 2025. As a marketer, I'm breaking this down and saying there's no foul play. So there's got to be some rumblings on the inside. You've got insider information. You're making conjectures. You're hoping to stand up and show face against your label. I don't know. I'm with you, Payne. I feel like the only way that this is valid is if he's trying to get out of his deal. It doesn't make sense to me from, like you said, Dame, a cultural perspective, but also from a money side. I don't see it making any sense unless there's other things, like, and I'm sure there are plenty of other things. We only know the surface level of details, but this is a wild play.
Well, it's suspicious. And to go off of that, I mean, so UMG obviously has invested quite a bit in Drake. Drake's made them probably billions. He's still one of the most streamed artists in history. So why would UMG do anything to hurt their relationship with Drake? And that's why I think something suspicious is going on, because this goes beyond money. It goes beyond money for Drake. I mean, if we're just looking at the situation from our perspective, knowing very little, it doesn't seem like a money play on either side. Why would UMG risk conflict of interest with their cash cow when the label's bottom line is their money? Why would they do that? Why would they promote Kendrick over Drake? Or why would they somehow thwart Drake's progress? Doesn't make sense. Why would Drake? I mean, artists don't sue labels. If anyone's going to sue a label, it's got to be someone like, it's got to be a Drake or a Taylor Swift. When Taylor Swift did her move against Scooter Braun, everyone was paying attention. She could do that. No one else could. How many other artists are in similar situations, suffering in silence because no one gives a fuck, because they're just too small? So this is interesting. This, from a music business perspective, it's really, really interesting. I guess time will tell. But I think another conversation that I think it's all being overshadowed by the beef. I'm like, wait a minute. So Drake is saying that labels are using stream farms. We've interviewed and discussed people who have gone to prison for doing this. they're not signed to major labels. I've never heard of a major label artist suffering the consequences of this. Certainly not major labels themselves suffering the consequences of this. But we just had a conversation about the guy from SMH Records, the former founder of SMH Records, the producer who made all those AI tracks and then built stream farms and is now facing lots of prison time. And we interviewed Chaz Focus. He actually served prison time. So
I don't think that the argument is just like, hey, these guys are using unfair practices. It's these guys are helping propagate a message that's not true, that I'm a pedophile, right? And so that's where the defamation comes in. So I'll just kind of wait and see what happens. It's pretty wild. I mean, there's some conspiracy theories out there that like Drake was in a position before he signed this deal to like really shake some things up and go independent. Some people think if he would have went independent, like it would have changed, it would have shifted the entire industry. I don't know, but if anybody had the power to do it, then it would be Drake. And maybe, he had some power that the labels didn't like or were fearful of, and they felt like they had to get him into a deal, and then maybe kind of take him down. I have no idea. But I remember Steve Stout, as much as I don't like talking about Steve Stout, but I remember him talking about, the impact of what could have happened if Drake went independent. I think at that time, Steve was just trying to prop up United Masters, but, maybe there's some truth to what could have trickled down if Drake went independent. I don't know. But
if it's defamation, why not sue Kendrick? Why sue the label? To me, that would be the secondary. I would go after Kendrick and his team, and then I would go after the label and say, okay, look, I have this defamation case that's gone to court. Y'all, do you know what I'm saying? Him going directly to the label doesn't seem like it's an actual defamation case. Again, that just feels like all the filler shit that they're adding to it to make it valid.
Well, I think maybe him going after the label is him thinking that, well, one, he threw shots at Kendrick that probably weren't true, too. It's a rap battle. But two, maybe he was thinking, there wouldn't be as much. Drake is always making miscalculations when it comes to the culture because he's not from the culture. And Kendrick keeps calling him out for that. So Drake continues to prove what Kendrick keeps saying. So maybe from his cultural calculations, he thought, oh, I'm just going after the label. Like, I'm not suing. We're in a battle. Like, I'm not going to sue the person I was in a battle with. That's what hip hop's about. So maybe he thought he was avoiding that criticism by going straight to the label, but it still seems like most people think, or the appearance is that he's suing anybody after a battle is corny as shit.
What other miscalculations do you feel like he's made aside from this actual beef?
Just the barrettes, the corny duck lip.
Okay, cosplaying other cultures. Okay, cool. Yeah, I that's how I see it, but I've always seen it that way. But I also feel like Hurry Up, Nevermind is my favorite album of his, and it was his biggest cosplaying album. I mean, since like Take Care or whatever, but like, no, I'm with you, like that part, but that's what I'm saying, like, he's been acting like a colonizer this whole time. I'm kind of surprised that anybody's surprised, like, we've enabled this.
No, but I don't think he's gotten the criticism for that, but as soon as Kendrick called it out, I think he's under a microscope now. So now I think, somebody that's already awkward now has to kind of appear still cool and part of a cult, and it makes him even more awkward. It just seemed like even the way he was talking, like the interviews, like after Kendrick called it out, everything just seemed that much more awkward. So I was like, damn, yeah, Kendrick's spot on, even though you probably can look back hella years. I mean, even when he started wearing the gloves and started talking about murder and shooting it's unfortunate. But anyway, I think we spent way more time on this than I would.
Well, I'll say this, and this is as controversial as I'm going to get. So there is this conversation putting Drake in the colonizer category, and I don't want to get into that. But if we're talking about...
I'm getting the video shadow banned. Sorry, y'all.
Why would that...
Because anytime you address racism or make a statement like that, or talk about another specific culture of people. There's very buzzwordy things, but if you're anti whatever, I'm not going to say that word because you'll really get shadow banned. Or if you say anything about colonization, racism in America, black versus white, you tend to see a lower tide on the YouTube streams.
I mean, I see videos all the time on YouTube. It's all in my algorithm.
I think shocking things for sure. But if you have any type of thoughtful dissertation, it tends to have issues.
The entities Drake is doing right now are actually committing settler colonialism. So let's move on.
Cool. I'll go into my topic. And I wish I knew more about the gaming space. I'm starting to learn more. I was talking with a young lady named Kaylani Rogers, who does really well on socials. She does a lot of streaming now. And she was I probably should have just put streaming instead of gaming because people aren't always gaming when they're streaming. There's a lot of people that are just streaming. Anyway, I did a poll on Twitter and I said, which of these is the easiest to start making money from scratch if I just started today? And I put music, podcasting, gaming, and producing. I did the same poll on Instagram, and I believe there were the top two were flipped. But from your guys' perspective, how would you guys rank those? Like how, in terms of easiest to start or the quickest to start making money if you started today from scratch to the longest? So music, podcasting, gaming, producing. Yeah, put them in order of like what you would make money, not the most money, but make money the quickest out of music, podcasting, gaming, or producing.
And you say money, that's any dollar amount. That's not like an
you start being in the black, like you start making a profit.
I think it would be gaming, podcasting, and music. Music is going to be last for me, to be honest.
But producing's in there too. There's 4.
Oh, my bad. Gaming,
music, podcasting, gaming, producing.
Gaming, producing or podcasting, and then music. I think it's a tie for music, producing and podcasting for me.
Oh, God, Dame is just... All right. I think they're all hard to make money and they're very hard to make a living on, but I honestly think if you're talking about making money, all right, if you have a streamer here, a podcaster here, a rapper here, and a producer here, and you say, all right, by tomorrow, I want you to make $5 minimum directly off of your role. I think the producer and the rapper have a better chance of making money right away. And I think probably the producer has an easier job long term, but a rapper can go on a street corner and rap right now and collect donations. A producer can go online right now and sell beats. A streamer has to wait to get monetized. A streamer has to wait to build up a subscriber base that will donate to them regularly or join a Patreon. Podcasting, I guess similar, you would need some kind of Patreon situation, some kind of monetization, and that takes a lot of time. I mean, even if we're just talking about YouTube monetization, which is probably the easiest and the highest paying option, that takes a long time. You have to reach a certain view amount and a subscriber threshold. So I think making money right away, yeah, producing and rapping, you're going to make money right away. But I also feel like I don't think streaming is easy to make money on, but it's a wide open space because you can kind of stream anything and you're really selling your personality. So you could get a lot. Podcasting is just as saturated as music is right now.
Yeah. I honestly don't know where to put gaming. I'm still learning kind of how those creators move. But I would put producing first because you can sell beats without having like if the beat's dope, and you get in front of the right artist, like you can start selling beats Doesn't really take like a brand. I would go producing. So I don't know where to put gaming. It'd probably come before music from what I know now, but I'd go producing music podcast. Like podcasting is hard to make money from. Like it's, I know a lot of podcasters, like Payne said, like I probably know just as many podcasters now at this point as, well, that's a lie. I know a shitload of artists. I just had way too big of a head start, like knowing artists. I still know a lot of artists, but just so many everybody has a podcast these days. Everybody has something to say. And even I'm not going to name any names, but even the people that you think are making money are in the red. I promise you. Even people that you think are making money.
You're talking about podcasting or just in general?
Podcasting.
Oh, word. Okay.
From the podcast.
I think just in general, though, too.
What? Oh, yeah. That applied. I was specifically podcasting, but yeah, I think people don't really understand yet how to kind of set up the podcast to make money. So they invest a lot up front, thinking that the money's going to come quicker than it does. And now they have set a standard for themselves, a certain quality, so they have editors, they bought the cameras, they get to rent the studio space. And then they quickly find out that the money doesn't come as quick as they thought it would come. So it further prevents them from getting in the black anytime soon.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point, too, because I do feel like it takes more of an initial investment to compete at an average level as a podcaster. I think streaming can, to a lesser extent. I'm going to say something controversial because I'm a music producer and I work with rappers, but those are easier to get into because you buy less equipment and you can achieve a pretty standard quality with far less. I mean, if you have an acoustically decent space and you just buy an interface and a mic, you can start making a song right now. And if you're a producer, you might just need a laptop, honestly. I know a lot of producers, especially the internet money guys, are talking about how and it wasn't just them. It was, I think 808 Mafia was talking about this too. They've been making beats on the new MacBooks and they're just doing all their referencing on the MacBook speakers. So you get a MacBook, cool, but for a podcast studio, you need lighting, you need multiple mics. I don't think anyone wants to listen to a solo podcast unless it's like a true crime podcast. Then yeah.
Well, they can do this. I mean, this makes it. We're not spending a ton of money to produce this podcast if you do it remotely and use Riverside. So you can, but I do think a lot of podcasters want to start out like with the full setup. In person, 3 cameras. Great editing, great audio.
Well, it's still 3 mics. All 3 of us have mics. All 3 of us have interfaces. All 3 of us have cameras. All 3 of us have some lighting. And all 3 of us have everything else, the computer, the internet, access, all of that. Whereas if we just reduce that by a third, we could each be recording our songs or making beats.
Yeah. Like you said, Payne, all of this is extremely difficult. I think that all of these different types of creators should be working together when it makes sense. If you have a similar audience, make some music for the intro of a podcast. Make some music for the gaming. That's how Logic got his initial fan base. Like his music was heavy in a lot of gaming streams, and that's
Post Malone too. That's how he started. He was a gamer.
Yeah. So, that's some of the things we're going to talk about when we put these conferences here in LA together, whether it's Game from the Gods. I don't have I need to come up with a title for this other like conference more geared towards like actors, comedians, streamers. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting because on Instagram, I think producing came out on top, whereas on Twitter, gaming came out on top. And again, still have a lot of learning to do in terms of how the gaming stuff works. But, I see these streamers have kind of taken over. I'm assuming Kai's not like games as well, but it seems he's just streaming his life. I just saw a promo for him, Drewski, and Kevin Hart, some kind of Thanksgiving stream that they're going to do. They're going up, like the streamers.
I hope he enjoys this, because I always wonder, but he's very young. He may do this for a while, pull his money out and do something else. I hope he has good people around him keeping him grounded.
Is there signs that you don't think he's having fun?
Well, I can't imagine having, because, he's in the middle of his 30-day stream, or just ended, and it's 24/7. It's in the shower, it's on his bed, it's, you know what I'm saying? And then he's doing interviews while in it. Maybe it's me, but I can't imagine wanting to be on camera all day, every day, and responding to the chat that tapped in, that plugged into the matrix, and people's energy and emotions. I'm not saying that he's doing bad. I'm just saying I can't imagine somebody doing well, doing that long term. And even when he's not doing it 24/7, he's still on every day.
Yeah, I see that cat everywhere. It's like, I guess it's like the Truman Show, but he knows that it's happening.
Did the real world fuck us up this much? Because it really does feel like nowadays everybody, even if they're not actually, even if no one cares, they're treating their lives as a constant stream. Especially the younger you get.
The real world, like the MTV show?
Yeah.
There were ones before that, for sure.
I used to like that. Well, there was a debate. I forget who I was watching, what the first reality TV show was. I think Cops predates reality. I mean, the real world. So they were saying it was probably Cops.
Yeah, but I don't think Cops spawned streaming in the way that the real world did, just because, Cops, the camera turns on when the cops start arresting people. So you have an authority figure who is filming people in unfortunate situations, rather than the real world just being, purportedly just a natural, organic 24/7 video recording setup where you see people at their best, at their worst, in the morning, at night, there were shots of people in the dark. And obviously it was manufactured. And so is, I think, everything, the popular streamers, that's not their real life. You know what I mean? It's entertainment. But people tend to be who they are. I don't want to insult humans, but the majority of us kind of have some pretty stupid ideas when it comes to how entertainment works. And so we think, okay, all they're doing is, and if you've ever been around kids, kids have no real, for the most part, a lot of them do, especially if they dealt with trauma at a young age. But most kids have this kind of zero filter when it comes to ingesting information that they see. And so they're the most susceptible to marketing. I mean, try to take a kid to a grocery store. Everything is every marketing ploy works on them. I want that. I want, oh my God, what the, oh, there. I'm like, wow, the placement of that product, that really got this kid, or the colors on this product really got this kid. So when you look at entertainment, they're just kind of seeing it surface level and taking it at face value. And it's like, oh, I just need to do this all the time, and I'm going to be popular and rich. So this is coming out on Monday. We're actually dropping a video on Monday. So our reality show is a boxing show that we're going to see if we can get off the ground. We're actually just going to produce it ourselves because we got some feedback that, we couldn't get people to authentically participate, and they wanted us to kind of make it up and script it. But anyway, we know that a lot of issues start online. So, we're reaching out, we're asking people to reach out to us if you have an issue with a person that has either started online, or maybe it was an existing issue, but got intensified by something that happened online, and you want to fight this person in real life in a boxing match. So
that's I'm not going to give
That's
you the
stemming
name.
from the Mike Tyson fight, or is that just?
No, this is an idea I had during the Funk Volume days. Like I wanted to do this. I looked at the PowerPoint presentation that I first put together for this, and it was like 2014 or something like that.
Wait, who did you want to fight back then? You wanted to box your way through the internal conflicts, or like all the
No.
real
I didn't want to participate. I just always thought it was funny how quick things escalated online, right? Like you could be talking about your favorite rapper and be like, "Oh, I love Lil Wayne." The next person comes in and says, "Oh, Lil Wayne sucks." The other person comes back and says, "Well, your mama sucks." And then it just, they want to come to blows. And I get it. Most people do not want the in real life consequences of getting punched in the face, but I feel like if you throw in the incentive of some money to the winner, maybe less money to the loser, like people will want to do this. And if it's a platform where people get their 5 seconds of fame. And
you could generate money from people bidding on who they think is going to be the winner. It could be like a closed circuit bet situation. I love that. I think that's super cool.
So ultimately, man, there's real life consequences to the things people say if you say them in person. So we want to highlight that. We think there's a lot of comedy to this. One, like you guys are fighting over something stupid, so the interview is going to be hilarious. The fight, the commentary is going to be hilarious. The post interview is going to be hilarious. So,
I saw a post the Twitter conflict the other day. What's the guy that is like super anti-black woman that does a podcast? Someone called him out and said they'd fight him. I'm like, damn, get him. But I don't think he just responded by saying he was going to shoot him. Like
the Fresh and Fit guys.
Yeah, he's the one. I don't know anything about them. All I know is he tweeted, "I'm going to be the next George Zimmerman." I was like, yo, okay, never mind.
Yeah. So there'll be a sign up form. Actually today, if you're listening to this today, if you have an issue with somebody and you want to settle it in the ring in a safe environment, and you agree that afterwards, win or lose, you go your separate ways, and you want a chance to win some bread, sign up. The link will be in Big Jah's bio. So at Big Jah, BIGGJAH, the link should be in his bio on Monday. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get this off the ground. Erinn, what did you want to discuss today?
I mean, I feel like we've spent a lot of time. I've spent a lot of time talking. I want to give space to pain. If we get through pains, I'll bring up mine because I think it's small. But it's just
no.
Like
mine was a Drake. Mine was a Drake.
Oh, great. Okay. This is a topic, Dame, you sent something this morning. Pain, I don't know if it's too difficult for you to pull up. If you could pull it up, it'd be really cool. I recently got introduced to Mach Hommy. That's how you say it, right? Like Mach Hommy. Yeah, okay. I don't know. But I got introduced to him earlier this year by somebody who was actually having him speak at a conference in Atlanta. I didn't get to make it to the conference, but I was here in Nashville and we were discussing him. And if you're not familiar, he's a multidisciplinary artist. I'm still discovering different ways that he iterates, but he sells music. He sells vinyls that are a piece of art, but it has his music on it. Okay, yeah, we can listen to this first and then we can go into it.
You determine the prices for your albums as you put them out?
Man, I mean, it's a mix. Like, it's one part numerology, one part instinct, another part code. You feel me? Alphanumeric. By now, like, it's become like a practice. But in the beginning, like, it was a very like touch and go thing, because like even something like Dollar Menu, that was like $1. But then within 24 hours, it was like already like 77, and the price kept rising.
So you were sort of adjusting based on how badly it was wanted.
Yeah, and I was able to like watch a Wall Street ticker, exactly who was buying and where exactly they were coming from. And it was crazy. It seemed that the higher the price went, the more engagement I had, because then you had people that wanted to get in before it got too high. But also all the people that got it low, they were unwilling to share it. I learned a lot from that.
What is the most that you have charged for an album to date?
I think it was the collector's edition. HBO, and it was Art Collector's Edition, and I think that was $7,777.77.
Damn, sold a project for damn near $8,000.
Yes, and that was just one cut of it, because HBO, when it dropped, that was in 2016. The project was $300, and he was selling it via Instagram, and so like even that was like $300. And granted, that's back when, and I say back when, it's kind of like the end of it was post CD era, beginning of iTunes era, but very much already in the streaming era. So $300 is kind of wild, and I say wild from not, I love when people price the market accordingly, but $300 in the streaming era is like, whoa. But for him to have insight and understanding into his audience, I think that's really cool, because it was like $300. He talked about it for something else. He did another series of songs, I think he called Dollar Menu, and those started as $1, but every day, not every day, I think every hour he was raising the price, because there was so much that came from that. So I think what's interesting about him is that, and the reason I reference him as a multidisciplinary artist is because when you look on Wikipedia, it'll say he's a producer and a songwriter, or a producer and an artist. But the way that he releases his music, to me, displays how much of an artist he is. To me, he's in a similar vein of like a Kanye or a Kid Cudi, or even like a Virgil. There's so many multidisciplinary artists, but it's like where they're just iterating in a medium that you can understand or palette, but it's really related to how just artistic and esoteric and unique their minds are. And so he's somebody that I feel like is an interesting study for artists who are maybe more interested in, I don't know, I won't even call it high art, because he does so many plays on the culture, so many different things that he does that shows you that he's really connected to hip hop. He's really connected to Black culture and his Haitian culture, but is also very connected to politics and art history and drama and things like that. And so my thought here and my personal opinion is that if you are looking for inspiration in the music world, where you're kind of just tired of, TikTok videos and Instagram reels and all those things, and you're saying there's no real art in the world, I think you should research. I think you should dig deep. There are a lot of real artisans in this world doing very unique things. This is definitely a tougher path. I feel like I'm super interested in him because I think I've chosen a tougher path, even in this entertainment industry, just because of an integrity standpoint, but also because I'm not willing to spend the time and energy that a lot of people would say you have to spend to create a digital footprint or a digital brand, right? And so it's like, if you choose that path, there are alternatives, but being able to understand what alternatives look like, what the time investment is, where these people reside, and kind of shape their community. If you look at a lot of people that he's affiliated with or people that really rock with him, again, it's a cult following where he's kind of whispered about in the streets, but so many people are enamored with how well he's done his art, they're willing to spend top dollar on it. So he's like, it's funny that his name is Mach, and it sounds, when you hear it, like Murakami, who is an artist of multiple disciplines, who I feel like has figured out a way to price his work in a very unique way. And so, he's associated with Griselda loosely, I think, which is like another such an interesting thing for me, but it actually makes sense when you go deeper into the makeup of Griselda. I don't know. It's just a really fascinating person. I'd love to hear y'all's opinions on him, but I think, he doesn't show his face when he's in public. He does interviews and things like that, but he always usually has like a Haitian flag over it. He's very cryptic, but not, people say he's elusive, and he's cryptic, but he's not completely clandestine. Like, you can find him.
Well, that little clip.
Yeah. You see him out in the world. He's doing interviews. He's just not like as accessible as the average person. You're not going to see him breaking down the science of what he's doing online, but you will see him essentially teaching art to the masses if you're looking for it.
Yeah, and just so people know, like, he still puts his music on streaming sites. I think we actually released his last album It came out through Two Loss. If I was an artist and I was interested in doing some of these things, I would just follow him and see like how he's creating this following. Like, how is he creating this demand? Because it's possible. A lot of artists have this type of relationship with their fans, but it's not something that's built overnight. It's something unique and maybe even different from artist to artist in terms of what they're messaging and how they're creating that type of relationship. There's a lot of artists that want to be mysterious. Again, I've said this before, most artists that say that they just don't want to do social media. So they're looking for an excuse to not have to do social media so they say they want to be mysterious. There definitely is a relationship with Griselda that I know has helped him a lot. Don't know exactly when and how much they supported him, but that definitely helped him build his following for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get to it these days. It's dope to see people moving in different ways.
And he has no social media, so I feel like he's really not necessarily following best practices.
I think he used to, because
I think he used to too.
He was on Instagram.
He might have. He might have. What do you call it? What do you like? You don't delete it, but you like
deactivated it.
Yeah, I think he deactivated it because I know he's been on and off, but like it's like if he's promoting something or building something, he makes his Instagram, I think, like a representation of that, or like at least the entry point, and then you can kind of find stuff and then he dips or whatever. But yeah, I guess he's not currently on there. But also, I will say to your point, Dame, about the like when people say they're mysterious, I agree. It's like a lot of people just making the excuse not to be on socials, but he has so much depth. Like, if I'm not mistaken, he speaks like 7 or 8 languages. He spends his time like fishing and hunting, apparently. So it's like, I'm not saying that inherently makes anybody deep, but I also feel like when you're one with the land and you're living off of, like, if you're connected to the earth, there's an inherent depth, but also his ability to interplay between the current real world of music, culture, and also be out the way of social media, I think is a testament to his understanding of what's going on and not a complete dissonance. I think sometimes when people are like, yeah, I don't want to do that, I hate that, it's more of a dissonance or a disdain for what they're required to do, which keeps you from understanding it. Like, it's one thing to say, like, I don't want to do this, but in not doing it, you have to choose to do something. It's a whole nother thing to say, like, okay, I'm willing, able, and interested in leaning out from societal norms, but that means that my path will be more difficult. So I've got to make the choice to make it happen for myself.
I was just looking at numbers. He's been on YouTube for 12 years. So you got to figure this has been at least a decade of consistency. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there are people like him who this is what I'll say. Artists who are looking at him as a role model need to understand that he learned the system first before he broke away from it. It's like when I was a kid and my favorite poet was E.E. Cummings, right? I was like, oh, wow, this is so non-traditional. Well, the guy started out writing sonnets and then just completely created his own form. That's what this guy's doing. And so, in order to truly follow his blueprint, you can look at it and be like, well, he got off Instagram, I'm going to get off Instagram. He deleted his YouTube videos, I'm going to delete my YouTube videos. He had tens of millions of plays before he did that. And that was some kind of strategic decision that is clearly informed by data and a decade plus of experience. So just be careful, with anyone. I say this a million times. Your job isn't to copy what other people are doing and think it's going to work for you. That's not the point of checking someone else's blueprint. You really have to analyze what they're doing, and not just the how, but the why, and create something that's authentic to you, a system that's authentic to you. So is he a great person to look at as an artist? Absolutely. But is he just day one, making these bold moves that he's making. Absolutely not.
Yeah, you gotta be of a certain caliber of rapper to get a cosign by Griselda. Like, those guys take rapping super serious.
And there's no street cred, no clout that you could fake or create to make them like you.
Yeah, so this is for those thinking, so to those of you thinking that, oh, he doesn't have to do that much social media. Well, he did a lot of other stuff to put himself in that position. So, that I'm sure amounted to the same amount of hours, if not more, required to do it more traditionally in 2024. So it's not easy. Cool. I think this was a good episode. Unfortunate that we have to talk about Drake, but it was the elephant in the room. So, at least we got our thoughts out there. We'll see how this unfolds. It's pretty sad to see. But, followed it up with some good conversation. Any closing thoughts?
I don't think it's sad. I think he's doing what he wants to do and still has a great life. But I think it's going to be very interesting. I think there's the fan conversation, and then there's the music business / strategy conversation. And I'd rather have the latter, unless I'm trying to get on Dame's new boxing show, because the second you bring that shit up on social media, that's what it's going to come to. But be like Mach, Hommy, and get on 2 Lost. Distribute your music for 3 months for free. Get on all the platforms. He's got damn near 1 million monthly listeners. So again, he is working within the system and outside of the system at the same time. He's created his own system by understanding how the mainstream music consumption world works. So part of learning that is getting music on DSPs. Go to 2lost.com, use the code NBC, and you will get 3 free months of premium music distribution, which is a lot. That's a lot of time to learn. That's a lot of time to get a catalog migrated to the streaming platforms and learning about pre-saves and rollouts and all of that, and then starting to build customer data, because that's really important. So 2lost.com, code MEC. We will catch you on the next episode. Appreciate you tuning in. Especially.
Can I ask a question? I know we just did the exit, but I just now have this question. What if I'm kind of thinking like maybe I should just try to see what makes the most money of the 4. I don't know about production, but Dave.
How are you going to get good at all 4? Like,
No, I'm not saying good at all 4. You're saying what's the easiest. I think I'm decent at podcasting, and I've already talked to you about a compilation I want to put together for the new year, Dame. So I think if I just take notes on what each thing, the podcasting stuff is inevitable because I already have 2 in development right now. So it's like podcasting, music. If it's not my music and I'm more so acting as the exec on the compilations, we could try the music, the podcasting. I have a producer that really wants me to rep him right now. So maybe we could, if the rules can be I'm kind of wondering if I should run that as like a 90-day experiment at the top of the new year. What is it? Streaming? That's the only one. Yikes. I got to figure that out.
But it's also like, we can change the rules. I think there'll be some great learning if you were to do this experiment, even with who you are today. But like, it's not from scratch. Like, if I started a new podcast, there might be some brands I can get on board, from the jump, just because of the work that I've put in since I've been in music.
But I feel like nobody should start from scratch in general on these. Like, I think everybody has something. If you're listening to this, at least, you got some connection, or you've got, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's very few Gen Zers listening to this who just want to jump out and say, I just started making music. You know what I'm saying? You got something to build on.
But I wanted to start from a baseline of like, because everybody's at different levels, right? So I had to just make an assumption. I mean, I could have made the assumption that everybody's amazing at whatever it is they do. Like, maybe I should have positioned it that way. Like, okay, you're amazing at what you do. You've already, done the 10,000 hours in the craft of what this is, whether it's podcasting, streaming, producing, or making music. start today, like how quickly can I make money if you don't have any fans, just great talent?
That's honestly, when I was answering it, I was more so answering it from if somebody started one today, not necessarily they had money already, but just had a little bit of understanding of the industry. And I'm not saying us or an expert or whatever, but I don't think anything is starting from scratch this day to like currently. And if you're starting from scratch, wow, kudos to you. But I wasn't thinking along those lines, but that makes sense. I'm going to think about that. That may help me pull out of a funk, because I love running tests, and I'll be shooting some test episodes of one of the podcasts next week. So I'm like, I just got to figure out this gaming thing. Is there a market for people who are terrible at gaming? Like, would somebody want to watch me be terrible? Like, I'm horrible. Like, I don't know any consoles that I could even pick up right now, but I'm sure I could try one, and maybe y'all could watch me game and be like, this is pathetic.
Well, Persephone started gaming, but I'm sure people are watching her for a whole other reason.
Is she good at it?
I don't think so. I don't think she.
And when I say I'm not good at it, like, I have no concept of gaming. I think the last thing I played was like Sonic the Hedgehog, probably like 6 or 7 years ago.
I feel like there are the people that are great at
like
gaming. Like, you got to be great at gaming for that to be your hook, and you have to be great at other things for that to be your hook. I feel like gaming is now just kind of, for a lot of people, just a passive, incidental part of their streaming brand. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you're saying it's more about the stream than the actual gaming.
Yeah, I think for certain people, if you want to go hardcore gaming stream, then you got to be from that world. But, it'd be like if I wanted to do a basketball stream. I don't play basketball, but it could be funny if I had guests on who knew what they were doing and they just saw me getting my ankles broken all day, or like the conversation was about health overall and that basketball was just kind of in the background. I think there are a lot of ways you could make that work.
All right. I'm going to think about what I could do streaming wise. If y'all have any ideas, if anybody wants to comment below, or Payne or Dame, I'm not saying I'm going to commit to this, but I'm kind of interested right now. This is like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of interesting to think about, because I really think that podcasting, just because, not to say that it's easy, but it's like you can go out and get local sponsorships. That's what I'm about to start doing for my other podcast, because it's like, oh, if it's localized, you can ask a company to give you $100 for every episode, or $50 for whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So if we're talking about zero to no money, or zero to just some money, I feel like, I don't know, I want to experiment with this. And I wonder demographically, what is it like? Okay, I'm a black woman. What would it be like for Payne? What would it be like for Dame? I know we have different expertise and worldviews and different things like that, but this is actually interesting.
Some people would probably lean towards gaming just because of the market size differences.
Because it's so big.
Yeah, but I don't know with that market. I don't know how much of that is like streaming. I'm assuming most of that market is like the purchase of games, in-app purchases, things like that. But the market compared to music, it dwarfs music. It's like
wait, you're saying like building a game? I thought we were only talking about like the talent on the game.
No, but I'm saying some people would assume that it's gaming because the market for gaming is so much bigger, right? Like The market for gaming is like 250 billion or something like that.
That's why I chose it first.
Whereas music, it's like 30 billion or something like that.
See, Dame, you really should have just called. So like, I feel like modern day streaming isn't really traditional streaming. Like when I think of the people online making money off that, it's like true crime podcasters, which I feel like is outside of the realm of a traditional podcast like what we're doing. It's more like a audiobook. So you look at that world and they're making so much money different ways, because they're getting the meal prep sponsorships, they're getting the supplement sponsorships, they're getting books published, they're getting Ray J's companies sponsoring all of them. Those are sponsors that musicians don't usually get. Certainly not producers. Some musicians do get sponsorships like those, but it's very rare. You can be a smaller true crime channel, never show your face, just have a mic. It's damn near ASMR. And you end up getting some kind of ready-made meal sponsorship or a Raycon sponsorship.
Well, if Erinn experiments in either of these mediums, let us know how it goes. I think.
Is that just me, Payne?
No, Dame just turned into a robot.
Yeah. Okay, I was like, it's so wild.
All right, I can't watch Dame transition into a cyborg, so let's end it now. Appreciate you watching. Thank you. I'm going to spare you the anguish of witnessing my friend become a lifeless machine. Peace, everyone.
Dame, can you hear that?
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
It's just like robot. It's like, but like when you talk, there's no words. It just sounds like, yeah, it's still doing it. You'll probably have to end it on your side because it's still recording.